Our challenge has no jetpack, no refineries, and a host of other difficulties. But at least we now have a decent supply of metal grids. So that means it's time to take our bare bones skeletal ship and produce something with a little more pizzazz. But what in the world have we done now? I don't have a clear vision of what this ship should look like, but I know one thing for sure. It needs more lift. So a row of conveyors to move the hydrogen and some down thrusters will be the start. I wound up not using the collector while out salvaging, so the collector and tube had to go. And we'll replace that with another medium-sized container. It's also become clear that I needed a bigger platform to build on. So it was a few more blocks added to the platform and just let the ship hover while I remove the connector and move that over. Alright, let's slide the ship over and get that locked down. We also painted the whole thing white and got 2 thrusters pointed in all the other directions, except up. It only needed 1. The ship wasn't the only thing absorbing those fresh new metal grids. The base got some attention, and it was time to upgrade the basic assembler to a full-sized assembler. This will give us some more assembly capabilities and efficiencies. Very good. The other part of the base that needed a little upgrade was the drill rig. We're going to start doing a lot more flying, and with a ship that's weighing more, we need better ice extraction. My idea was to add a rotor and a hinge, and then set a double set of drills, assuming we survive the meteors. So let's get on with that. How I envision this working is that I can lower the drills down, once underground, start slowly moving the hinge to orient the drills horizontal, and maybe start rotating the whole thing on the rotor to start hollowing out more ice below the surface, all the while avoiding disturbing the surface as much as possible. All this also needed a second control post to run the hinges and whatnot. Let's see how that works. It works, mostly, at least enough to get more ice. The spiders are getting smarter. They've learned to climb the ramps and get to the upper section of the base, but I'm not scared of the spiders as much anymore. I now run to the danger and take them on with my weak pistol, because pistol is greater than mandible, and they need to be taught that lesson. There, spiders dispatched.
And now for something completely different.
We're on an exploration mission completely around the circumference of Pertam. The idea here is that there may be another trade station somewhere else on the planet that I haven't found. Now, I don't believe the world is pre-populated with trade stations until you either travel and find them or get a GPS pad that has their location. I'm not 100% sure what all the triggers are for them to spawn in, but I'm pretty confident they aren't just all there when you create the world. So that means a little exploration might reveal a new one. At least it's worth a chance. As we're flying along, new assert bases are spawning in our general flight path, which is good. We could always use more bases to take over, as long as they don't spawn super aggressive ones before I'm able to defend myself. That would be bad. It's interesting to see a lot of different terrains and formations on the planet, and we seem to be catching up with the sun. This is a very trenchy area. That would be fun to navigate a rover through there. You could probably have fairly limited entry and exit points to the canyon. Could be an interesting situation for a rovers-only server. Ah, the Sahara Desert. Sands stretching for miles. Oh, we're coming right over the top of an assert base. I think we'll be just out of range, or maybe in range only for a second or two. Right. we're okay. But if the Assert base had had any long-range cannons, we'd be done for. Now look at this. This is a trench. That's really deep. Very cool. Even if I haven't found a trade station yet, and the prospects of that are looking dimmer by the minute, I'm really glad I made this journey. Doing this full circumference has given me a much better understanding of what's here on Pertam. There's also been this great sense of exploration and discovery. It's something that's an extra reason to play, and the devs have said that the coming versions are focused on encounters and exploration, which is good. I think having reasons to travel to places and explore adds a lot to space engineers. Okay, we're back. No trade station found, but a very good time exploring. It probably took about 40 minutes, maybe, but it was well worth it, and it did give me time to think and ponder my next move. And the next move will be a big one. What I've decided to do is to stop adding little bits and bobs to upgrade this ship, and instead give it a massive makeover and transform it into something completely different. To do that, we need even more space on the platform. So let's get that done. Okay, that's done. Now, let's get this guy jacked up so we can work on the underbelly. We're going to armor plate the bottom for protection and add a ton of up thrusters for lift, because this thing's gonna get heavy and have a lot of utility. Okay, we've got a couple thrusters on there. Let's continue blocking out a general shape. What I'm planning, at least in part, is to create a fully functional interior space, like a custom-built cockpit with all the functional trappings of a live-aboard ship, similar to the rover. I'm going to try to go with no pre-built made cockpits for flying the ship. It's not a hard rule, and I may make one, but I'm going to try to go with more of the custom-built thing. I'm telling you, the spiders add a little spice when you least expect it. This time, I think we'll make the ship asymmetrical. For whatever reason, my ships are almost always symmetrical, and I'm tired of that. I'll have the hydrogen tanks on one side with the majority of the thrusters, and a piloting/live-in space on the other. Inside, we'll have a hydrogen-oxygen generator and an oxygen tank, because this will be a pressurized space as well. No more oxygen issue on long journeys. So to get that, I'm going to block in this entire space, pressurize the cabin, and try to see if we can get it airtight with just a simple blocked-in space. That way, as I change blocks around on the cabin walls, I can see if what I'm doing is somehow not airtight and know where the problem is. This cockpit block is one I haven't used, and I want to, because it's a great cockpit. Super small, lots of entry points around the top and back, lots of displays, simple styling, just really good. But I'm not gonna use it. We'll stick with the custom cockpit. I tried a lot of glass shapes, but I couldn't find something interesting that also worked how I wanted. So I moved from the angular glass to the round ones, and went with a wrap-around window. I also tried different control seats inside, and even got in and test drove a few, but went with the helm like the rover. I also put in a hydrogen engine to make power. You can see I'm working towards a ship with extended exploration capability. On the outside, I'm going all in on styling, even if it does make the ship really heavy. I've got the life-changing metal grids, and I've put 18 small down thrusters on the ship, so we've got a lot of lift. During the build, I went out gathering satellites that weren't too far, because I could already see I was running a little short on some things. On the other side with the tanks, I'll go with a rounded look for contrast with the more angular fairing on the cabin side. It was right about here that I got a kind of houseboat vibe out of the build. And rather than try to transform it into something it's not, I decided to lean into the houseboat vibe. This would be a houseboat. Good styling was still important, and a pointy back end to contrast with the rounded front I thought might look good. And by good fortune, it just worked out for me to have a small rear deck on the houseboat. Perfect! I wanted the ladder to be more accessible. There was one on the far right on the outside, but that would be unreachable in space without a jetpack. The problem was the required space out in front of the ladder. It was 5 blocks in front and 3 wide, so I couldn't slot it in very well without really interfering with the style. So I'd just come back to that later. For this to fly, I needed some thrusters on the port side. Some exposed piping would start to help break up the squareness of the interior space. These temporary ones I put on the inside got moved to the outside. We've got the same information down here on the displays as we do on the roof helm, which I do plan to keep for a while. And on the roof, we'll snap in 4 more emergency parachutes. We'll make these conveyored as well for easy loading. And with that, I think we're ready for its maiden voyage. Let's go. I was uncertain there for a while, but I'm liking this ship. It's a little quirky, functional, I'm pretty sure I can expand it fairly easily, and it's going to satisfy a big part of my plan to get some silver and magnesium, which we desperately need. As a viewer pointed out, I'm still here by luck of a meteor having not destroyed my one and only survival kit, which would turn this into a permadeath situation. So we'll see if this ship can complete a salvage run to space and get us back to the base safely. But that will be in the next episode. See you next time.